In C#, other type of abstraction than abstract classes are interfaces. An interface defines a contract. Any class that implements that contract must provide an implementation of the members defined in the interface. So you might also think of an interface as a completely abstract class which contains only abstract members, which then have to be implemented in the concrete classes. Abstract classes and interfaces have few things in common, but they also have plenty of differences. As you know, we cannot create an object of an abstract class, and that rule applies to interfaces as well. Also, both abstract members and interface members are required to be implemented in the derived classes. On the other hand, we have few key differences between those two concepts. First of all, when it comes to inheriting from a class, there can be only one base class, whereas we can implement many interfaces in a single class. By the way, notice that there's even a difference in the vocabulary. We implement interface and we inherit from a class. Another difference is that we cannot have a constructor defined in the interface, and for abstract class or classes in general, we could refer to the constructor from a base class with the base keyword, just like we change a second constructor with this keyword. Also, when it comes to abstract classes, we could define its members as public, protected, or internal, and for interfaces, all of the members are by default public and abstract, meaning that we have to implement them. Let's rewrite our abstract file class to an interface so that you can see the difference. First of all, I will replace the abstract class keywords with simply just interface. And by convention in C#, we are naming interfaces with a letter I prefix, so that we instantly know that this is an interface. So now this type will be just called iFile. Moving on to the members of this type, we can get rid of the public keyword. So let's remove this. And also the abstract, because they are both redundant. You can notice that this interface is much cleaner and simpler than the abstract class we had. We don't have to deal with the access modifier and the abstraction. This interface contract is all public and abstract. Now we'll have to also adjust the classes that implement this interface. Let's start with our Excel file type. And I will change the class declaration to implement the interface like this. Class Excel file, implement iFile. And as the members of that interface are abstract, we'll have to provide their implementation. In our case, they will be simply an auto-implemented properties. So let's create a property string for the file name, property int for the size, and property datetime for created on. And lastly, for the void compress method, we no longer need the override keyword, so let's get rid of that. And by the way, if we needed to implement more than one interface in a given class, we would have to separate them with a comma in the class declaration like this. So Excel file implements from the I file, and then with a comma we would say that it implements also from some other interface. And then of course we would have to implement the members of both of these interfaces. Yeah, but moving on, let's adjust the two remaining classes in a similar way. Starting on from the Word document file, we will say that it implements from the I file. We'll provide the properties, so the file name, size, and created on. And we can also remove the override keyword. PowerPoint file class is the last one to be adjusted, so let's do that. Now our three classes fully implement the iFile interface, and you probably see some differences between this approach versus using an abstract class. We had to provide an implementation for all of the interface members, and it might look like we have duplicated the code a bit, but on the other hand, those properties could have different behavior in each concrete implementation. And also, implementing interfaces allows us to call methods polymorphically, but we'll talk about that in the next clip. For now, I'll just go to our main method, and there is no need for any adjustments here. We still can set the created_on and the file name properties, and invoke the generate report for the Excel file object and the print method for the Word document file object. And if I run the program, the output is the same.